figures were born in the 60s, but before that, children played with solid plastic figurines. These statues were frozen in one position. Children had to use their imagination to bring them to life. They were made by companies such as Palmer, Heartland, and Multiple Plastics. But the king was Louis Marx. From the mid-50s through the 70s, Marx issued and reissued a variety of figurines and playsets. They depicted cowboys and Indians, soldiers, astronauts, and other generic action characters. Stereotypes were taken for granted in those days. There was still lingering bitterness from recent wars. Marx produced licensed characters from the mid-60s to the mid-70s. These included cartoon characters, superheroes, and monsters. For years, girls had played with generic, childlike dolls. But this changed in 1959, when Mattel introduced Barbie, the definitive fashion doll. Inspired by the German doll Lily, Barbie was shapely and sophisticated. Mattel supported her with an endless array of accessories and companions. Her appearance changed with the times. In the 70s, she acquired the softer, more innocent look that she has to this day. This is a 70s Ken, Barbie's boyfriend. Introduced in 1961, Ken was the precursor to the boy's action figure. But Ken was still a girl's doll. The idea of a doll for boys was socially unacceptable. But models were acceptable for boys. In 1961, Aurora released its first licensed character model kit, Frankenstein. A monster fad had swept the youth culture, and Aurora fueled the craze by producing 12 more monster kits over the next 5 years. These models seem innocent today, but at the time, their scary subject matter made them controversial. That didn't stop them from being incredibly successful and influential. Marx also took part in the 60s monster craze by producing a line of battery-operated monster toys. Perhaps the best was the remote-controlled Frankenstein. Standing over a foot tall, he had the power to pick up objects and carry them away. All of these toys paved the way for Hasbro to introduce the first doll for boys, G.I. Joe. To avoid stigma, Hasbro called the dolls action figures, inventing a new toy genre. A scar on Joe's cheek proved he was no sissy. Joe was 12 inches tall, fully articulated, and complemented by a wide array of accessories. Starting with 4 Armed Forces dolls, Hasbro expanded the line, adding foreign soldiers and Joes in different uniforms. G.I. Joe became an American icon and the most famous action figure of all time. G.I. Joe's success led other companies to produce their own action figures. The most important was probably Ideal's Captain Action, released in 1966. Captain Action was similar to G.I. Joe, but instead of military uniforms, Captain Action wore the costumes of famous superheroes. In this way, one doll could become many different characters. Captain Action appeared just as the Batman TV show sparked a new superhero fad. As the space race drew toward a climax, Mattel produced the major Matt Mason line of astronaut toys. Unlike other 12-inch plastic figures of the era, Matt Mason was a 5-inch rubber and wire bendy. These toys were a serious attempt at depicting space exploration. But Major Matt still encountered alien beings like Scorpio, a villain that could light up. Captain Laser was an alien friend. The plastic 12-inch figure seemed very different from Matt Mason, but was nevertheless part of the same set. The success of Major Matt Mason led Colorforms to create the Outer Spacemen in 1968. These unusual alien bendies were the first three-dimensional toys from the company that made its name producing vinyl stick-on sets. Each distinctive creature came from a planet in our solar system. This fantasy was shattered by the 1969 moon landing that failed to find any aliens. Kids lost interest in the toys, and a planned second series was never released. Today, the Colorforms aliens are recognized as one of the most unique action figure lines ever.